coming up during the intermission. Thompson looking for Oliveri, scores! That's the first one of the night for the Don Father. First of the finals, and the Black Bears are on the board.
Well, it was the Don Father following up on a rebound. Like I said, Cavaliers had some tough rebound controls, and listen to this place go.
Locates the puck first. Beautiful backhand to get it away from Ford. A stretch pass ahead for Oliveri, one-on-one with Bioni. Kirkby comes in, and Bioni are able to wrap that one away from Oliveri. D-to-D over to Boilar from Weber. A shot deflected. They score! Tie game! 2-2. Back to Boilar with his first of the postseason. It is a big one. Bond skates in, dangling at the line. It's held in by Oliveri, and everybody gets set up. Top of the umbrella is Bond, the lone defenseman. Oliveri's one-timer misses, rebound! They score! On the power play! It's Gavin Yates with his fifth postseason goal. Puts the Black Bears up by one. And now the door's opening. The net is vacated. Shot thrown up into the air. Oliveri takes aim towards the empty net. Gets past Schnapp. Thompson. He's all alone. Scores! Binghamton needs 43 seconds to run off the clock, and they will have accomplished the mission. Puck battle played back up to the line. Pastuca through traffic hits the lock. A lot of people on the same side of the ice for Carolina. Finally pulled out. Save made by McAnanama. Kirkby able to elevate it out. It's going end over end. It just misses. Clock stays running. 15 seconds left to go. This is the final push for Carolina. Over to Salat. Keblinger. Shot. Save. This is the words heard all around Binghamton. The Black Bears are Commissioner's Cup champions! The mission has been accomplished. All the naysayers were proved wrong. They didn't believe in the rookies. The young guns led the way in the year, and the Black Bears are the 2024 Commissioner's Cup champions.
This is a presentation of BSRN, Box Studios Radio Network. The Power Play Post Show is on the air, covering minor league hockey since 2003, and now covering the Binghamton Black Bears with news, reactions, and in-depth interviews only heard here. And now from the Box Studios in Kirkwood, New York, here is your host of the Power Play Post Show, Bob Howard.
And hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Power Play Post Show. This is the show for May 12th, 2024. This is Season 13, Episode number 46, and Episode number 431 in the long-running broadcast that is the Power Play Post Show. Hello, everybody. I am Bob Howard. I am your host of the Power Play Post Show. Welcome and congratulations to the Binghamton Black Bears on winning the Commissioner's Cup here in the FPHL for the season 2023-24. Congratulations to all the players, the staff, everybody involved in the Binghamton Black Bears. As Brooks Hill, as you just heard, said, mission accomplished. They won this, and I want to say a special congratulations off to Brant Sherwood. I've become close with Brant and everything, and the past week I kind of gave him a little bit of space to be able to experience, to be able to enjoy this whole experience, and I saw him on ice, obviously, during the celebration, shook his hand and congratulated him. He didn't want a handshake. He wanted a hug, so gave him a hug. And just very happy for him. He's gone through a lot with this team over the past year and a half, and his vision came together very successfully. So very happy for Brant in this whole endeavor, winning the Commissioner's Cup. Happy for the players on the ice. A lot of them I got to know very well, and just very happy for them and thankful that they came on the Power Play Post Show to talk to us and whatnot. Very happy for the team just in general. The front office people, from Trevor to Elise, and just everybody involved. So just very happy for them. Alex Jones, Cole Parente, they all did a really great job. Bobby Gross, just putting everything together. EJ Worth, very, very, very talented group of people that helped kind of facilitate everything that happened. The assistant coaches, captain, Tyson Kirkby, and of course Jesse Anderson, JT Walters, all these guys. If it wasn't for the leadership on this team wouldn't have won. And they did a really great job and everything. So very happy for them. Let's get through the must-reads, and we'll get through this because we've got a big show for you guys. The Power Play Post Show is on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Just search Power Play Post Show on whichever platform you listen to your podcast and subscribe. Please join the Power Play Post Show Facebook group. Just go to Facebook and search for Power Play Post Show. Check out BinghamtonHockey.net for all your Binghamton hockey information and curiosity. And on this edition of the Power Play Post Show, very excited to have from the Binghamton Black Bears, we talk again with broadcaster Brooks Hill and everything. And we'll check in also with Gary Ryan of the Fed League Flash. So these two, obviously, excellent people to have on to talk about what just went down just this past Friday, as the Binghamton Black Bears are now your Commissioner Cups champions for 2023-2024. So that's very exciting. Okay, so the Black Bears win the Commissioner's Cup for the 23-24 season. They have now won this for the first time in their 3 years existence, right? So Andreas Johansson brought the team here 3 years ago. That season, the Watertown Wolves won the championship, his final season of being owner of the Watertown Wolves. So a pretty cool story for him that only 3 years later, he built up the business side of things, and Trevor has done a great job helping run everything. I call Trevor like the second in charge. I don't know if that's actually true. I just know that Trevor and the guys in Bobby Gross and Trevor and Alex Jones and all the people upstairs do such a good job and everything. And really, it's only taken a few years for them to really get to a good point. And to pack in 5,011 people in that building is phenomenal. But they did such a good job, and they just don't get enough credit and enough acknowledgement and everything. But Andreas, getting the team here to this point has been pretty impressive. You also built up a fan base where they averaged about 3,000 fans in the first year and just under 4,000 this year. That's really, really good. And again, in the final game of the season, they broke every single record that Binghamton had in the playoffs. They'd never had that many people in the building for the playoffs. So did a very good job in that final game as well. But the team came here and they've built up, and they've been through three coaches. Rod Davidson was the first coach. Gary Gill started off last season and then was eventually replaced by Brant Sherwood, who, kind of took over the reins of being able to scout and recruit and bring in people. And he brought in his own people, a younger squad, a lot of rookies, and he took them to the championship this year, led them there, along with Kirkby and obviously the great leadership of also Jesse Anderson and JT Walters. I think Donald Oliveri was kind of like a part-time while he was here on the ice, leading the way as well. And you gotta really hand it to him the way he showed up and he played. And what's funny is that first game that he was here this year, he scored 2 goals. He hadn't touched a hockey stick, he said, in months. So maybe it's a little bit of showmanship. He said that to me. I guess I have to believe him and everything. Don, if you're listening, I'm like 90% there, believing that you did not pick up a stick and everything, because you still had it going when you came back with the Black Bears and everything. I just got to give so many props to like Connor McAnanama and Sam Levecchi and Nolan Egbert, what they did in the regular season to get this team, keep this team into a lot of games and everything. They split the 39 wins, which is pretty impressive. And as Gary will tell you a little bit later on, or Gary and I talked about, Motor City only had 2 goaltenders the whole season, and which was pretty impressive that they were able to do that as well. Because to me, in this league, you have so many goaltenders come and go. And this season, the Black Bears, and I think to their benefit, just like Motor City's benefit, only 2 goaltenders for them. So the 3 guys did a great job. It was great to see Sam on the ice after the game as well, because he's a part of the family. As Andreas has called it, it's a family. And I think he deserved to be there as much as anybody else, especially any of the guys who had left this team. Sam did not leave because he wanted to. Sam left because obviously they needed to bring in another forward. So congrats to Sam to be in part of the success of the Black Bears this season. Really deserves to go out there. I got to say, and I said this earlier in the season, the Black Bears were a special team. They played like a special team all season long. And yeah, did they have a little downs? But they had more ups than they had downs. Let's be honest. 4-game losing streak at the end of March. Fine. Okay. There was a couple spots in early February where maybe the team was not playing at their highest capacity and everything, but they still won games, and they barely had any issues winning those games. So they had a good season, and they should be proud of themselves 100%. They are the champions, and that is the most important part. So how did they get there? How did they do that? Well, last Friday and Saturday, they beat the Carolina Thunderbirds 5-3 on Friday night, and then 4-3 on Saturday night. When Carolina came up for the Friday night game, I still thought, man, there's a possibility that this is going to go 4 games. I really thought it was going to be 4 games. But the Black Bears were determined to finish this in 3. They beat the Carolina Thunderbirds 4-3. Now, the Black Bears won all 7 games they played in the playoffs, going 7-0. Okay, so people were asking, in Fed history for undefeated seasons, the Black Bears are on top. In 2011, 2012, the New Jersey Outlaws were also 6-0. And in 2012, 2013, the last time this to actually happen, Danbury Whalers went 6-0 in 2 best-of-5 series. Now, Black Bears went 7-0, so they have the best record, so to speak. They won 2 best-of-3 series in 2 games, and then, of course, a best-of-5 series against the Carolina Thunderbirds. It was an outstanding atmosphere for Game 3. I think everybody enjoyed it. I think that even Thunderbirds fans, though they were disappointed, they had a good time. Everybody was ruckus. It was pretty loud. There was a lot of people there, and they were really energized, which was very good. It was an excellent environment, and I think an excellent presentation of what the FPHL can become in the future in all of the markets, and that is very important here. Okay, let's talk about the game a little bit. The game, actually, the Thunderbirds went up 2-0. Right? In the first period, they scored at the 5:29 mark. Gus Ford with the goal. And then Gus Ford also got the second goal at the 10:27 mark, right? And right there, you're thinking, oh no, what's going on? Binghamton's down by 2 goals. But they've already had 19 previous come-from-behind victories. This would become their 20th come-from-behind victories in this season. The Black Bears got on the score sheet first. Donald Oliveri. 18:01 mark of the first period. And then in the second period, Matthew Billard scored at the 10:19 mark to make this a tie game. Now, it's only fitting that a guy who's been here since the beginning of the Binghamton Black Bears is on the score sheet here in the final game of this season, 3 years in. And he probably got one of his more important goals right at the 10-19 mark. It's a tied game. And boom, already we're back. Brooks had the rally chair going on, and the team is now tied. And then in the third period at the 7:34 mark, Gavin Yates, power play, a power play that he drew. He scores on that very power play from a beautiful feed from Donald Oliveri, and then Gavin Yates scores the power play goal. Best power play in the league all season long, regular season, playoffs, heck, even in the exhibition, even though there was only one game and Binghamton was involved in it, they still had the best power play going. In the third period as well, at the 17:26 mark, after Cavalieri was pulled for the extra attacker, Austin Thompson gets another goal. And it's an important goal because it eventually becomes the game winner as Gus Ford, even though Roman Kramer is credited for it on the score sheet, Gus Ford really completed another hat trick, his second. He was probably the best player, not Binghamton, that played in the playoffs this season. At the 18-19 mark, he had a power play goal as the Connor Smith was tagged for a hooking call, which was hilarious because I was down by the corner and you could see Kirkby yelling at Dave Jackson about that call and everything. Because Dave Jackson was down in the corner watching this game and everything. In this game, Connor McAnanama, 35 shot attempts. He saved 32 saves, a .914 save percentage in this game. He played 59 minutes. Obviously, his goals against is a 3.0 for the game. Gavin Yates was named MVP of the playoffs, his second MVP of the playoffs in his career. He also won the Cup the same year he got the other MVP. In the series, in 7 games, he had 5 goals, 10 assists, 15 points, far above everyone else. I think Gus Ford was the only one that really had good numbers outside of him. Everybody else, not bad, just that these guys really excelled. Both of them did. Connor McAnanama in the series, in the whole playoffs, 7 wins, no losses, 241 shot attempts, only 18 goals, 223 saves, 2.51 goals against average, and .925 save percentage. Phenomenal. Very good for Connor McAnanama on the way he played this game. I got to be honest with you, folks. It was great. It hasn't really hit me yet that they won the championship. I'm excited. I'm happy for them. But it was a little surreal. I was down on the ice taking a lot of pictures. You've seen that in the Facebook page. There's more pictures to come and everything. But we wanted to get some business of, recording the podcast today and getting that up and out there to everybody. Because you get to hear from Gary Ryan, who helps me break down the game a little bit more, and the same thing with Brooks Hill, who can talk to us a little bit differently on a broadcaster level as well. So that's what we're going to get to next. We're going to bring on Brooks Hill from the Binghamton Black Bears. He is obviously the broadcaster of the year. He had a great season behind the mic, I think, for the Binghamton Black Bears. Congratulations to him. And then after Brooks, we'll talk with Gary Ryan from the Fed League Flash, who also had a very good season as well for himself, as he recorded a lot of material, provided a lot of news, and got a lot of information out there to the fans and everything. So very happy to have both of these gentlemen on with me and everything. And then I'll see you at the far end of all of that. And remember, tomorrow is the celebration. That'll be at 6 p.m. at the arena on the mezzanine and everything. So everybody can go check that out. There's going to be a DJ. There's going to be some speakers. Andreas, Brandt, Coach, our Captain Tyson Kirkby will speak. And I think it'll be great for everybody to hear them. I know I'm going to be there taking some pictures and also maybe get a couple interviews as well. Hopefully in a little bit quieter place. The arena on Friday night was not a great place to get some words. And so hopefully I'll get a couple bits of audio from some of the guys there and everything, which will be great for Thursday's broadcast, which will also have Brant Sherwood on that broadcast. We'll talk to Brant on Wednesday and bring that to you in our Thursday podcast. So a lot of good stuff still coming up, so stay with us. I know the summer's coming and everybody wants to go out, even though it's still gloomy here in Binghamton, New York, here on a Sunday afternoon. But coming up next here on the Power Play Post Show, he is the broadcaster of the year. He is the Binghamton Black Bears broadcaster. He is Brooks Hill. We'll be right back right after this, right here on the Power Play Post Show.
Hi, this is Don Biggs from the 92-93 Binghamton Rangers.
Hi, this is Brandon Buczynski.
This is Grady Wittenberg, the voice of the Binghamton Senators, and you're listening to the Power Play Post Show.
Here is another Power Play Post Show interview exclusive with Bob Howard.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Power Play Post Show. I am very happy that I'm talking to this gentleman. It is May 12th, and we're still talking about Binghamton Black Bears hockey. And, of course, we're talking about now the Commissioner Cup champions, Binghamton Black Bears, and he is their broadcaster. He is a good friend, and he is probably still very exhausted from Friday night. He is Brooks Hill. Brooks, welcome back to the show. Congratulations to your Carolina Hurricanes for beating my New York Rangers last night to extend that series a little bit. But congratulations on, again, Broadcaster of the Year, now champions of the FPHL. It's been a pretty good few weeks for you, I must say.
Yeah, professionally and career-wise, this has been a time where I don't spend a lot of time at home. I think I haven't gone to the grocery store in a month because I've been so busy getting a lot of takeout and Uber Eats deliveries to the house or apartment. It's honestly hard to believe that the season is over and now celebration season can officially begin here for, maybe the next week or two. Then we get fully transitioned into the off season, but it has been a wild roller coaster here the last month.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Game 3. Game 3 started off with Carolina getting on the board with a couple in the first period, or I should say the Carolina forwards, because Gus Ford obviously got those first two goals in the first period, 5:29, 10:27. Give me the feeling with you and Cole a little bit about. I know I almost included in the highlight package where Cole asked you, "Is your heart rate pumping as much as mine and everything?" And you're like, "No, I'm calm. I've been cool as a cucumber this whole time and everything." But tell me the feeling that you guys had when Carolina went up 2 goals.
So we had talked about what to expect in this game, to be prepared. Cole's dad was lucky enough to be sitting right next to us.
Yeah.
In the press box. And I think that's section 15 or 14 at the very top. So he was talking with us before the game and being trying to, talk to Cole, get him settled down, things like that. Cole had made it well known since he came into the office that day that he was, he's like, "I got butterflies in my stomach and I'm nervous." And it's like, hey, we don't dictate the outcome of it. We're just there to tell the story.
Yep.
At that point on Friday, I feel like I had done all of the research I could find in prep work, that there wasn't too much left for me to do that I thought would be able to be brought up at a certain point in time during the broadcast. And Cole said that I didn't really seem calm. I felt calm. I remember I talked to my parents yesterday about the game, and they said, "Well, you sounded like you were really nervous at the beginning, but you settled into it." So that 2-0, I just thought, okay, we knew Carolina was going to come out and push. I had been saying that, hey, Carolina could probably empty the tank on Friday night, just making sure that they get to see a Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
and they might not have anything left for a Saturday contest. So I'd say a 2-0. Not ideal, but knew the game definitely was not over yet.
Yeah, we've seen the Black Bears leading up until that point. I think it was 19 come from behind victories for them. And, Donald Oliveri gets on the scoreboard first with just under 2 minutes left to go in the first period. And going into the first intermission, to me, I felt like, okay, it's okay, right? We're not down by 2 goals. We're only down by 1 goal. And the Black Bears already got production from one of the I don't want to say one of the more important guys offensively on this team, Donald Oliveri. When he has been with the team and played, he's always contributed. And, at this point, he hadn't really contributed like we expected him to. So it kind of gave me a little bit of ease going into the first intermission that they were only down by 1 goal. Knowing everything that we know about this team, we knew that the Black Bears likely were going to come out in the second and the third period and just have a more sense of urgency to them. But in this type of game, you would expect a team to kind of not lay back. I don't mean it that way, but you play a little bit more tighter defensively, and the Black Bears seem to be a little bit more aggressive in the second period.
Yeah, I think getting to the first intermission down by 1 instead of 2 was huge for the guys. You could tell, I think, when I interviewed Andreas during the intermission, if you've had the opportunity to go back and watch that part of the stream, that he was a little bit more calm because they did score. I think if that interview would have been at 2-0, I think it probably goes a little bit differently. So not only from ownership and upper management, but probably down to the locker room, you're probably not talking about changing anything or making adjustments. It's just, hey, we just have to keep doing what we've been trying to do a little bit better. I think the second period, they did come out, and whatever the message was, I think it was received. Thought they played very well up until Matthew tied the game at 2, where they could have had some opportunities to maybe have the lead going into the third period instead of it being a tied game. But I think 5-on-5 play really favored the Black Bears in the series the whole time. And we didn't have a penalty in the first period, and we only had 1 power play in the second for each team. And I know Jesse's got carried over into the third. But when you stay at 5-on-5, I think Binghamton knows that they're either the best team in the FPHL at scoring, or they are, the best defending team at 5-on-5.
How important do you think to Matthew was it to get that goal? He's been with the team since pretty much day one. He got a little bit of time up in the SP this past year. He was in ECHL camp at the beginning of the year, but he's been a Binghamton Black Bear since season 1 and everything. How important do you think for him personally it was to get that goal?
Oh, for him and the other 3 guys who have been here since year 1, I think it's incredible. It's like surmountable. I think I just said it was a ginormous goal. I honestly, I don't remember half of what I said on Friday night at this point. But for Matthew to get his first of the playoffs after playing in all 7 games, that was Matthew's first point in the postseason. He was the only person defensively who hadn't gotten a point yet who had appeared in a playoff game. And that's a big one. We know that Matthew is not the guy who's going to give us, a ton of goals from the blue line like a Jesse or a Dakota, but he's still got that booming slap shot. I see it all the time in practice, and I know for him, having family, friends, girlfriend's family there, like in attendance, that's just it's a huge moment for him that I'm really glad that he was able to capture.
And it was the game tying goal, and honestly, it was so important, and game tying at that point, of course, because obviously the Gavin Yates goal that put them ahead eventually became another, basically tied up moment, with Carolina getting the final goal. So if you kind of run the numbers that way, if you look at it that way. But Gavin Yates getting the power play goal in the third period, 7 minutes in, I did not expect that. I really felt like Carolina was going to drag this down to literally like the final 2 minutes, and there would be an extra net goal, which eventually did happen with Austin Thompson. But for Carolina to give up that power play goal to Gavin Yates, which was a beautiful goal and everything, and beautiful setup, to me was a little surprising. But at the same time, in the back of my mind, I was like, this is the best team in the league. This is what the best team in the league is going to do in this moment. Cash in on a mistake that, get a power play goal here. At this moment was huge.
Absolutely. And I don't really want to say it was a mistake by Carolina to take that penalty against Gavin.
Sure.
That eventually set him up for it, because if you let Gavin just go right on in, he's so good at skating east to west, especially in front of the crease.
Yep.
One of the things that the Black Bears were looking for was holding on to the puck in tight near the net and forcing Cavalieri to reach out or make a play for it. That was part of the scouting report on him. So who's to say that Gavin doesn't score if Panicek doesn't take that penalty?
Yeah.
That eventually sets up the power play goal. But the Black Bears power play was the league best in the year. I remember 3 games in, people were up in the air that they hadn't scored a power play goal yet.
I was that guy. You're talking about me. I was that guy that said on this show, they haven't scored a power play goal yet. What the heck is going on? And then they end up having the best power play by far. I mean, Brooks, we're not even talking by a few goals. They outbeat the next person by 20 goals. That's the craziest thing.
Yeah, they finished the regular season at 29%. And if I can look it up really quickly, I know going into the game, the Black Bears were 22% on the power play in the postseason. Obviously, in the postseason, your numbers aren't going to be as high.
No, can't expect them to be.
So they finished at 20. They finished at 23. Columbus finished at 23.5. But Binghamton scores the most postseason power play goals with 7.
Yeah,
as well. So pretty good year on special teams, I would say, for the Black Bears. And that probably only gets overshadowed by how much more dominant they were
on the penalty
this year,
kill,
5-on-5, than what they were last year.
Oh, yeah, no, without a doubt. I don't disagree with that. But they were also very good on the penalty kill as well. I mean, the Black Bears were given a lot of power play opportunities, but they also gave up a lot of power play opportunities. And all season long, into the playoffs, they were just really good on special teams no matter what it was.
Yes. They scored a goal 3-on-5. They scored a ton of goals 4-on-4.
Yep.
And they even had a couple of shorthanded. Not as many as last year, I will say that. But, when they needed one, they were able to get one. And, special teams, special plays, special players. It's you got a lot of guys who are also on the power play who kill penalties. And when you got confidence in your guys to do both, it makes for a good recipe for success.
So Carolina gets the final goal at the 18-19 mark. Obviously, they had pulled Cavalieri again and whatnot. And I think you were kind of cautious on the broadcast, basically saying, "Hey, listen, it's not over yet." What were your thoughts in that last 2 minutes?
So, when Austin Thompson scored the empty net goal, and Cole started talking, it's one of those moments where people say you can hear Brooks's eyes roll
Yes.
looking at him. And as soon as he said it, I had my microphone on mute, and I pointed to the clock and just started shaking my head. Not done yet.
Yeah, because there's 2 minutes. Because when that goal is scored, Austin Thompson gets the empty netter. There's 2 minutes and 34 seconds left, and you're thinking to yourself, "No. You cannot be happy until probably the last 2 seconds of a game if you have a face-off, because that would make it even much more difficult." And we know how good Gus Ford is.
Yeah, absolutely. So when Carolina when Carolina scored and Ford gets his second hat trick of the series, because I don't think it ever got to Roman Kramer on the back post. I think it went off a defender in front to beat McAnanamall. You look up at the clock. Obviously, that's the first thing you take a peek at. And it's like, okay, this is how much time.
Yeah.
1-goal game. That's just essentially what we're talking about. 1-goal game. It's not over. We don't know. We've known how, actually we've talked about it a couple of times, Bob, is, sometimes Binghamton gives up a 6-on-5 goal.
Yes.
Up 2, but they don't give up the second one.
Nope.
So just, you stack it with your players that are defensive-minded. You can also clear the puck because you're not going to be afraid to take icings, I think, at this point. Just forcing Carolina to go back the other way. I would not say I was nervous about when Gus Ford scored his third goal of the night, but more of, okay, we can't be talking about celebrations, prepared material, all the stats, things like that. Like, hey, we got 90 seconds left here. It's just a 1-goal game.
Yeah. You're the end. I like the call. I like how you handled it and everything. When the Black Bears did win, I was down in the corner doing a little bit of video on my phone of the reaction from Connor McAnanamall and the players, getting hold of them. One of the best parts of the end there, and you were obviously doing the call with Cole and everything, and that was all exciting and everything. But the thing that I saw that just kind of threw me for a loop a little bit, Tyson just grabs the goal and throws the goal. And it was just hilarious, just to make room. I know he was just doing it to make room, but the look on his face and whatnot, he's excited, he's ready, and obviously he just grabs the goal and just throws the goal and flips it over and whatnot. It was just such an interesting moment. What do you remember of it going down to 0 and you making your call and what you saw on the ice? Can you comprehend both the visual and the auditorial port of that? Because it's hard for a broadcaster. You're watching, it's down to 0. You're making the call. They're the champions and everything of the 2023, 2024, and then also be able to visually watch what you're seeing as well. That's got to be a very difficult thing.
So for the last minute of the game, everybody was standing up. Everybody knows I'm not the tallest young man in the world. So, especially when the puck gets into that Zamboni corner, like where Trevor and Ben are hanging out at the operations desk, it's kind of hard to see what's going on. So, instead of not being able to see and looking up at the video board, I just stood on top of my chair and tried to get a bird's eye view of everything. And once the puck got into the corner with about 4 seconds left, I knew that it was over. A certain podcaster and beat reporter had told me earlier in the week that, hey, everyone's going to be remembering what you say in the final seconds, so I hope you have something good prepared. So I took some inspiration. I watched a lot of Stanley Cup final calls, but the one that resonated me the most was from Regis Philbin from Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
Oh, really?
Yes. So if you look it up on YouTube, the guy, John Carpenter, is the first person in game show history to win $1 million.
Yes.
And he was the one who famously got to the final question on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and then used his phone a friend to call his dad, telling him that he didn't need any help and that he had just won $1 million because he knew the answer. And Regis Philbin, I think, is kind of lost for words a little bit. And he goes, this is the final answer heard all around the world, and John Carpenter just won $1 million. So I was like, I really like that. So obviously I changed it up a little bit, and I went with, these are the words heard all around Binghamton. The Black Bears are Commissioner's Cup champions.
I love it.
And I think I had lost my voice at the end of it because I was excited. I was showing emotion, but also I was fighting the crowd for airspace.
The crowd was, the crowd tried to become the stars of this game. They really did. I think the energy in that building was outstanding. It was, I know a lot of people wanted, I've tried to compare it a little bit to 2011. I got to be honest with you, that building, when you fit 4,800 people in there, 5,000, and we'll talk about that in just a second and everything, it can only get so loud, and it just was so loud, and then I could hear it on your broadcast too. It was so massive how loud that crowd was, and even after Carolina went up by 2 goals, when something big happened for the Black Bears, they just were so loud. How impressed were you with the fans and the audience? All 3 games in the playoffs, but really all season.
It's incredible. I remember the first video I took on my phone Friday night was with Tyson skating around with the cup and doing like a pan around to everybody who was still there and just cheering. And it looked like nobody had left. I remember when I got off of the broadcast and I gave Peter, who's our producer up there sitting with me and Cole, like, hey, this is the rundown. We're going to leave the stream on as long as the video guys are still up here with the cameras and just use the crowd mic. That way they can see the celebration. I'm not going to talk over it. I ran down the stairs, and typically when I'm running down in between intermission or things like that, I'm bobbing and weaving through people in the concession line, things like that. The concourse was empty.
It was.
So that was incredible to have a overcapacity crowd. The amount of sellouts that we had this year is truly incredible. I think it's a big testament to Bobby, Trevor, Kelsey, EJ, and Alex in the front office. All the hard work they put in, that they were able to do this. Not only sell the game out 2 days ahead of time on Wednesday, but come up with a plan to help us get over 5,000 fans, because we still had a ton of people who needed to be there, a lot of friends and family, and I think the plan worked out good, and really glad that we could set that record, not only for the Black Bears, but I believe for the building as well.
Yeah, for the building, for hockey, without a doubt. If going back and looking at all the numbers, and I have all the numbers, there has never been a reported amount in the arena for a hockey game being over 4,898. So that is definitely a new record and everything, playoffs or regular season or whatever. So that's pretty impressive. I think the last Binghamton Senators home game was 4,898. Somehow they squeaked in an extra 5 from what they would normally consider a typical sellout at the arena if you count the new boxes up top and everything. So, yeah, that's pretty impressive. Good job by you guys to do that and everything. I'm sure not everyone had a seat to stand in, but probably not a lot of people were standing anyways in some cases, which is pretty good. Brooks, obviously I was down on the ice. The excitement was great. Everybody was so happy and everything. When did it kind of hit you that the season was over, but you guys were also champions? Did that happen when the game was immediately over? Or was there a moment later on during the celebration that it really hit you that the team had just won the championship?
So, 2-part answer.
Okay.
First, when obviously everybody else from the staff had already made their way onto the ice, Cole was so excited to get off the broadcast and go take part in the celebration. So I told him to go ahead and go, and I will wrap up the show before we went to just crowd noise only.
Yeah.
And it was the first moment is when I walked onto the ice, and I think I got a big hug from Trevor, my roommate Bobby, and Alex. And he's like, "We just won. Like, we're champions." that was the first, like, surreal moment that I think I had to wipe my eye a little bit, because especially, like, Bobby, Kelsey, and Trevor, they've been with the organization for 3 years.
Yeah.
It was really cool to see how excited they were about it, things like that. And then I was talking to my parents yesterday on the phone, and this is where you're really sad in is, my dad brought up, and it's like, well, what does it feel like to be a champion? And I was like, I really don't know. And me and him had an emotional moment where, it got brought up that when I was playing sports in high school and in college, I never did win a championship. Not even like high school, lacrosse, football, college at ECU. I mean, I had done some, like slow pitch softball stuff, like with church league down in Wake Forest, but nothing real serious about it. And it was incredible, because I'm looking at the photos that I have on the phone, and it's kind of crazy. And there's a bunch of me with the cup, and when Elise handed it to me, somebody got a video of Elise Wilbur, the athletic trainer, handing it to me, and you're holding it above your head, and you see your own reflection in it through the names of people who have won the trophy in the past. It's incredible. And we were talking about it once the office finally made it out of the locker room upstairs, and it's like, for me, and whatever my career is going to take me, that I would be able to remember this forever.
Yeah.
That at 26, I was a part of a team that won a championship, and I was part of the celebration. And while the chances might not be extremely high, I might not be a part of an organization that wins a championship again. And to have that already knocked out at such a young age is truly incredible.
It is. It really is. And there's, a lot of players. You take a guy like Donald Oliveira, who's never won a championship of any sort in his career. Even going back into youth hockey and stuff like that, he hadn't really gotten to that point where he could do something like that. There are a couple players who have won multiple championships now in their playing career, whether it be in college or whatnot, like a Gavin Yates. But some guys who played in youth hockey who won championships. So it's very diverse of how someone is going to remember this based on the fact that they'd either won before or not won before. So it's a very interesting topic, because it's something that people don't really think about in the moment, but when you start to reflect on it, you're like, oh, wow, I'm 26 years old. This might happen to me again in the future, but you never know, and everything. And for some people that are like 34 years old, this was great. This is the first time this has ever happened for me. So I find it very interesting. How late was the party? How late did you guys stay out and celebrate in downtown Binghamton?
All I know is they kicked us out because it was past 3 a.m. when we left Red Jug. And let's see here. We Ubered back to me and Bobby's apartment.
Yeah.
With Alex. We got back. We made a stop at the 24-hour Wendy's, of course. We got into my apartment at 4:15. And then we talked about the night and about some other stuff till about 5. And I looked out the window, and it was starting to turn light blue outside. And I was like, well, guys, the sun's coming up.
Time to go to bed.
And it's crazy. So it all started in the locker room, champagne, everything like that, the tarps in front of the locker, cigars, photos, speeches, all that stuff. And eventually the guys decided to shower. Then we took the cup down to Kraft, who have been great partners with us all year long for all of our home games.
Yep.
And we had a good time over at Kraft. Got some drinks out of the cup there. It's actually really funny. I sent somebody some videos and be like, "Oh, like this place looks different." I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry. This is a video from when I drank out of it at Stadium 138, where we went next, not Kraft." And they said, honestly, it's kind of wild that you have a video of every place that you drank out of the cup. And I was like, that is true. I have one from the locker room, Kraft, Stadium 138. Rally chair made an appearance at Kraft. And then they asked me not to do that again.
Oh.
So it was pretty cool. And I remember I'm just walking through amongst the crowd saying hi to people at Kraft, and Connor Smith tells me, he's like, "Hey, get to the back of the bar. Like they're filling it up and we're passing it around." So it was really neat that, Connor respects me and thinks of me highly enough to be like, "Hey, like make sure you're involved in this."
That's awesome.
And get back over there.
Connor is one of those quiet but very awesome dudes, right? He doesn't have to speak loudly. He doesn't have to speak often, but when he does, it matters.
It does, and I love Connor Smith so much. He's a great guy. I remember he was the first player that hugged me when I was on the ice, and he said, "We saw the chair. News said game over." He said 2-2. We said done.
Yeah, we
knew it.
I was going to bring it up. The rally chair, I did see it on video. They did get a shot of it, of you holding it over your head and everything. I find that interesting. So Connor said they saw it down on the ice. They saw you holding up the chair.
Yes, and
that's
then
awesome.
When we were at Stadium 138, Andrew Logard came up to me and said, "Rally chair." The boys saw it and it got us buzzing.
Really? That's awesome.
So they're probably laughing at me when they see it.
No,
but
I don't think
if
so.
it helps them, then hey, whatever works.
No,
because
I don't think it's them laughing at you. I think it's more of you're a part of the team just as much as the fans are, right? The fans, I've asked the guys multiple times and everything, do you hear the fans? Do you hear that intensity? Does it help you and fire you up a little bit? And they've all said yes. So I think there's different aspects of what can get them fired up and what can get them energized. And I think they probably get a kick out of the broadcaster, 50 feet away, holding up the chair and waving it around and everything. So I think that's pretty cool.
It is, and hopefully it's not taking away from the moment. I don't want it to ever be about me, because it is about what the guys do on the ice. But sometimes, you just get so excited, and the chair did finish the season undefeated. I will say that. And that was the first time that we needed the chair in the finals.
Right.
So
it worked out. Brooks, let's talk a little bit about what's coming up on Monday. Obviously, there's going to be a celebration at the arena, 6 o'clock. What can you tell us about that?
Yes, so it's going to be like a block party style event. It's on the mezzanine that is just outside the arena, like the giant outdoor concourse area.
Yeah.
That's on that second level. So that's going to be at 6 p.m. We're going to have a DJ, and we're going to have speakers. Somebody is going to introduce all the office, the players, things like that. I think we're still trying to figure out the details on that.
Sure.
So that's going to start at 6 p.m. So we want everyone to come out, show the support, because realistically, after Monday night, exit interviews start on Tuesday with the players.
Yep.
And Monday night will be the last time that everybody is together, from this championship team and staff.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those moments where, because the next day exit interviews happening and players start going home and they start going back to where they're from and where they live and whatnot, and that's just the way hockey and sports work in general. Is so when you win a championship, that celebration is the last time that everybody's kind of together, and then some people will go to other teams, or they'll go to other leagues, and some might retire, things of that nature. So Monday night's a big night.
It is. The cup will be there. I think we're working on a process of letting fans have their picture with the cup.
Nice.
Like putting it up on a table, like with the cloth, everything like that. With like our media backdrop that you're familiar with.
Sure.
In the background. So we're working out all the logistics and the details of that as well. So I think Monday night's going to be big. I think Andreas is going to speak.
Nice.
Grant will speak, and probably Tyson as well. If they need to fill time, I guess I'll probably have to speak. So
it'll be a good time. Yes.
Yeah, but also probably be telling people about how they can get the championship merchandise.
Yes.
That kind of stuff.
I know there's pre-order stuff already up on the Black Bears store and everything, where people can pre-order, I think, shirts and sweatshirts at the moment.
Yes. Yeah, so that's the plan right now. I believe they're also in the process of getting another hat design up there. The one that you saw
on the ice
is probably going to stay within the organization.
I really like that one.
That's the one. So, we'll see what we can do. We know who made them, and we know where we can get them.
Gotcha.
They already had the file, so that's the easy part. So,
well, it's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. Obviously, people are going to definitely want the merch and everything. So hopefully the Black Bears, make that available. Obviously, the T-shirts and the sweatshirts are already available on the Black Bears. It's pre-order type of stuff. They don't obviously have it made yet because it would kind of be, you don't want to do that too ahead of time. You don't want to pull any of the jinx rabbits out of any hats. So obviously, very cool. Monday night, what does your job look like for the next few weeks after the celebration's done? What does that entail for Brooks Hill?
It will slow down. I would say realistically, probably Thursday to Friday, once a vast majority of the players have moved out of player housing, things like that. It'll slow down for a little bit. We will start planning. The league meetings come up at the end of the month of May, and then they're actually having a marketing meeting in the month of June for the first time, where each team is sending a representative. And
good. This is good.
The marketing meeting is taking place in Winston-Salem.
Oh, wow.
Funny enough, there's one person from the Black Bears organization who's from North Carolina.
I don't know who that is.
So it's probably going to be sending that person to the marketing meeting. But it also works out because I will be in North Carolina the day before, because I have a high school friend who was in my best friend circle who was getting married, and he's the first one from my close group in high school that's getting married.
Oh, cool.
So it also does make the most amount of sense for me to go, since I already be in North Carolina.
Nice. And you are very familiar with how the Black Bears have marketed themselves the last couple seasons and whatnot, and how it's gotten better and stronger. And there's a lot of techniques that I think this is something that I know the AHL has done for a long time. They've had meetings where they've brought together. They really ramped it up right around the social media boom, right? And this is where teams get together. They send their most important individuals who handle social media and everything, but marketing as well. They've done it for marketing. They've done it for social media and so on and so forth. And let's be honest, in this league, social media has been one of the biggest driving supporters of how to grow this league. And there are ways you can do it, and there are ways you can do it much better. And I think it's great to bring the minds all together so they can discuss it, share ideas, and things of that nature. Again, like I said, the AHL has done it for a long time. I'm sure the ECHL has done it as well. And it's good to see that the FPHL is putting together a meeting as well.
Yeah, I think it's a big step in the right direction for the league. I think it's extremely beneficial. So it'll be interesting to see what other teams come up with.
Right.
Because I also don't want it to turn into like, what's going on in Binghamton, and like tell us all the secrets and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's a little bit of a push and pull. You don't want to give everything away, but you also do want to help some other teams.
Yeah.
Because when the entire league succeeds, it also means your team is succeeding too.
It does. It does. So it's
So,
yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
After the marketing meeting, we're probably right into the thick of corporate selling season, renewing sponsorship and partnership agreements with returning clients, trying to find new ones. That's a big priority of what goes on during the summer. Also, when people are interested in signing up for season tickets, all that kind of stuff, I'm sure we're going to have a big boost in season ticket sales for next season. I think a lot of people are tired of getting individual game tickets, and we just keep harping on them. Hey, sign up. Like, this is how much money like you would have saved this year.
Yeah.
Like if you would have signed up for the season tickets, and I think some people get afraid of the commitment of, we missed a game or something like that. There's a good chunk of season ticket holders who still don't come to every single home game, but it's still worth their time and money to sign up for the package, knowing that your seat's already taken care of for the entire year.
And fans,
you don't have to worry about it.
And fans, I'll tell you right now, if you're a season ticket holder and you know you're not going to Friday's game, just give that away to somebody who hasn't gone to many games, because you might create a fan yourself. Right from just giving them that ticket, they go to the game and they're like, holy crap, I got to go to another game. Trust me, it's a good thing. If you can't go to every single game, give it away to a friend or a family member that hasn't been to a game, because live hockey is the best thing in the world.
It is. It absolutely is. I think Friday night really proved that point.
Oh, yeah.
So that's really what the summer
is going to look like.
Will look like. The closer we get to, I would say, August, we start really planning and thinking about training camp for the next year. Obviously, in the end of September is when training camp typically starts, and that all depends on when the league season actually kicks off for next year. But those are things that, we start thinking about. When do the apartments need to be ready? Who do we know is coming back? Where are we going to put them to live? All that kind of stuff. So that's really what the summer looks like. Hours aren't as long.
Yep.
The arena closes at 4 during the summer, not at 5, so you get another hour of daylight. So either, go play some golf after work, which I like doing up here. Another hour to go exercise at the gym, which I need to do. Again, I was big on the workout game until the season started, and then you just get so busy and daylight savings time and everything like that. You just don't want to. You just don't want to do. You just want to go home and rest and relax.
I get it. Brooks, thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate it. We'll talk to you, obviously, again. I'll see you, obviously, on a Monday at the celebration. But just thank you again for everything you've done this year. You've done a phenomenal job. You grew so much from Game 1 last season to this final game. The production with Josh Williams, what he's done with his video crew. You guys have done such a great job this season. There's a reason why you were Broadcaster of the Year. There was a reason why Carolina fans all across social media said, look at the production in Binghamton for this hockey game. It is literally number number one in this league. It would be number one probably in the SBHL and maybe even in the ECHL as well, because the people and the processes work in Binghamton, and just a great job. Thank you very much for coming on this year.
Yeah, absolutely, Bob. It's been a pleasure all year long. It's an honor to be able to share the guys' stories and listen to them.
Yeah.
With you on the show, and to talk about them during the games and make it a lot easier with how good they were this year. It's a lot more fun talking about a winning team than losing team, and I think a lot of people are going to be talking about this year's team for a long time in the future. It's been an utmost honor to win the award. And, hopefully the Black Bears organization is not done yet.
No.
And they keep on trucking on, and they got many more to come.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. He is Brooks Hill, broadcaster of the year, champion of the FPHL as well. Brooks, thank you very much for coming on. We really appreciate it.
Yep, no problem, Bob. Thank you once again.
And we'll be right back right after this, right here on the Power Play Post Show.
You're listening to the Power Play Post Show. Here is another Power Play Post Show interview exclusive with Bob Howard.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Power Play Post Show. Just happy to talk to this gentleman again. I have seen him now. He's now starting to sit up next to me in the press box, which is very, very cool and everything. And I hope we'll see him more in the press box this upcoming next season. But he's here to talk about the Binghamton Black Bears championship season and just this series that was so amazing. He comes to us from the Fed League Flash. He's my good friend, Gary Ryan. Gary, welcome back to the show. I know we just talked just recently to talk about this series and everything, but I just felt it was very important. And plus, I got a lot of praise. There were some people that really enjoyed our last conversation. So thank you to the fans who reach out and just who kind of tell me that I'm doing a good enough job to not look in the mirror and go, does anybody like me? Does anybody like me? Gary, thank you very much for coming on.
The moments of self-doubt that you referred to, I feel them too. So
yeah, it happens from time to time. Listen, people listen to us and watch us, because they watch you on YouTube and Facebook Live and everything, and they think that we're just so confident and excited and ready, and then there are these moments maybe on a Sunday afternoon at 2:00, I'm going, why did I even decide to do this again? What is wrong with me? Gary, obviously the excitement of Friday night, it was just so amazing how the fans, just this playoffs, I think in a lot of the cities in the Fed, just tuned in and got involved. The YouTube numbers were great for people who were watching. The fans that were in attendance, not just in Binghamton, but in Carolina, Columbus, and Danbury, just really good numbers across the board. I'm really impressed because this means that the league is growing and going in the right directions, even if we think there are some hiccups in the road every once in a while, like rules changes and things of that nature. But when it came to the playoffs, where you're asking people for extra money and extra time, in the season, after the season, they showed up.
Oh yeah, definitely. We could probably nitpick till the cows came home as far as, the league should do this or the league should do that. But I really feel not just this last series that just completed, but the whole playoffs. I really felt like the league got it right this year with just how they promoted the games, with how they really kind of built up all the teams that were involved. It was really, really good to see.
Yeah. Before we talk about Binghamton, let's talk a little bit about Carolina. And I want to first touch upon the Carolina fans. There were fans that came up. First of all, there was a contingent of fans that went down to Carolina, and they were absolutely 100% treated so amazingly well by the Carolina fans, and then vice versa. I saw so much on Facebook, about, hey, we went to Binghamton. It was great. They were so nice. They gave us gifts and food and things of that nature. And Binghamton fans went down there and said, listen, we went back and forth with the Carolina fans a little bit, but at the end of the day, everybody was smiling and happy, even though the Carolina lost those games down in Carolina. It seemed like that's the way it should be, right? Everybody gets up, they cheer, they blow their horn, do their cowbell thing, but at the end of the day, no hurt feelings, no one-year-old kid is being kicked out of the games, stuff like that.
Exactly. While you were still snapping pictures on the ice, I was outside the arena talking with several Carolina fans and just letting them know how awesome it was to have them there. And, talking about, you guys have nothing to be ashamed of.
No.
Your team played fantastic. You had a great year. And just talking about the things that we had in common instead of you like this team, I like the other.
Right.
And it was a great dialogue that we had. We're trying to help them out with, because they're all feeling, what do we do now? We thought we were going to have a couple more games. So, we're offering them suggestions as far as what to go see and do in the next couple of days before they headed back home to Carolina. But they were great. They were really just in awe of how great the Binghamton fans were towards them, and vice versa.
Yeah. It was pretty amazing. The other thing I want to mention, and I'm kind of really glad that the Carolina fans saw this, was the ones that didn't make it up here. I saw a lot of great feedback about the production that Binghamton puts on. And, a little bit of confusion of who actually owns the equipment and everything, because that is owned by Broome County. They run it. Josh Williams, who does work. I'm trying to remember if Josh works for the team or if he works for Broome County. I'm pretty sure it's the team now. But, his team that they put together and that they bring in for these games do a phenomenal job. And the camera angles, everything. I've watched a good portion of the game again, on YouTube, because I wanted to hear Brooks' call. That's the big thing. I wanted to hear the excitement. Plus, I wanted to hear the fans, because the fans, when we were in attendance, that was loud. It was loud like 2011.
Oh, yeah.
It was really, really intense. The Black Bears fans have been phenomenal all season long. I think last year, near the end of the season, it really started to intensify even more so. And then this year has been great all season long. But then to listen to the fans on the broadcast, it just came over so loud, so great. And the production, everything that Cole and Brooks have done and Josh Williams down in the video room, they've done just such a great job this year.
Yeah, definite shout out to Josh and his team.
Yeah,
because I really felt like they did a great job at capturing just the overall environment that was in the arena. They just were able to put it into a nice, neat package so beautifully, and that really, I felt like that was also kind of a highlight for the Fed this last year. This, hey, look, this is where we've come from. We're not just a bunch of ragtag people just doing random YouTube videos like the Fed League Flash. We have good people working at this, and it was great to see.
Let's talk about, all right, so on the Carolina side still, I want to talk a little bit about Gus Ford, okay? Gus Ford just had a really good playoffs, number one, but number two, as you mentioned on your video this morning, and yes, of course, I always watch your videos and everything, Saturday's video, I apologize, today is Sunday, it's all blurred together this weekend, has blurred together, but in Saturday's video, you did mention, listen, he had the hat trick on Friday night. They credited the goal to Roman Kramer. I'm looking at the site. It's still credited to Roman Kramer. I'm pretty confident that Brooks even said, Gus Ford with the hat trick and everything.
Yep,
so
he did.
We're pretty sure, unless they saw something that we didn't see, it's still a Gus Ford goal and everything. But talk about Gus Ford, because we talked about him before, but again, he shows up in this series again in a very impactful way. Why this guy is not playing in the SP or the ECHL, I have no idea.
Exactly. And, he had a really interesting year stemming back to last year's finals. Obviously, he was a big part of Carolina's run to the Cup finals last year against Danbury. And there was a lot of confusion this year. Shortly after the season concluded, even though he was on Carolina's protected list, he ended up signing with a team in France. And he was all set. He was going to play in France. Mm-hmm. And for whatever reason, that didn't pan out. And the next thing you know, he's kind of back, but he was still not signed. He didn't sign with Carolina for this year until the week before the start of the season.
Yeah.
So obviously he was exploring his other options and avenues. I know he did have at least 3 different tryouts in the SP last fall, but in the end,
what are they not? What are they not seeing, Gary? What could they not see in this guy that if they put him on even on the second line in the SP, I think he'd score goals.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, now obviously the style of play in the SP is a lot different than it is in the Fed. The Fed is a lot more wide open.
But he's a big boy. He could hit. He could hit.
Yeah, he can. And we've seen it many times, and he can do the what I call the Jaromir Jagr, just kind of turning his backside to the defensive men and shielding the puck and using his strength to maintain possession.
Sure.
I mean, what a talent this guy is, and yeah, I definitely think I think he should be in the ECHL myself.
Yeah.
I really do. I think the style there would fit him more. But then the question is, is it just because of logistics for the ECHL clubs that they're not giving him the opportunity? I don't know. But I certainly hope that we can see him continue his career on a higher level, because he deserves it.
He definitely does. I became a Gus Ford fan watching him in these playoffs and knowing what he's done against Binghamton this season. So let me ask you this about Mario Cavalieri. You definitely openly admit that you were surprised that Coach Harrison went with Mario, that you thought Cody was going to be the guy, being that we saw the performance that Cody had in Game 2, which he was outstanding, only gave up 1 goal to the Black Bears and everything. So Mario obviously was Coach Harrison's guy. He wanted to play him. There was going to be no changing his mind. Game 3 was going to be Mario's. Do you think that was the right move, even after watching the game?
I do. And the only reason why I previously said I thought for sure Karpinski was going to be in there, I was just kind of basically going off of Harrison's previous tendencies throughout this year.
Sure.
And he's very much, when it comes to goalies, he's kind of like Mike Keenan. He doesn't pulse people as quickly, but he is certain that he can ride a hot hand. So obviously, maybe he looked back at tape of Game 2 and saw that 2 of the 3 goals that Mario gave up, he couldn't have done a thing about.
Sure.
Definitely weren't his fault. But I was glad to see it, because I think overall, and this is not a knock on Karpinski, but I do think that Cavalieri is the better goaltender. And as we saw the game unfold, again, 2 of the 3 goals he gave up I don't think he could have done a thing about. I think it was just whether it be a defensive breakdown or just that fluky Boilard goal. I mean, I still don't know how the puck ended up in the net. I really don't. But so I was glad to see that, though. It was good to see.
I don't think he had a chance on Oliveri's goal or Yates' goal either.
No.
The way that Binghamton set those two guys up, there was. I don't think there was much of a chance he had on that. Do you think Mario, who did get a small shot at the SP, do you think he shows up in a camp in the SPHL next year?
I think he is going to try to make as many tryouts and kind of explore his options. Yeah. But in the end of the day, he just loves to play. So I think if in the end, something else didn't shake out, I think we probably see him back in the Fed, whether it's with Carolina or perhaps one of the expansion teams. Who knows?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Okay, so Binghamton does score 4 goals in the final game 3. 2 of them, Donald Oliveri and Austin Thompson. But let's talk a little bit about Bullard and Yates. They win a championship. Bullard gets the game-tying goal, and Gavin Yates gets the go-ahead goal at that point. It was the go-ahead goal at that point. So these two guys have been with the team all 3 years, right? Bullard spent a portion of the season up in the SPHL this year, but it is almost very apropos that these two guys score in the final game that clinches the championship for Binghamton, because they've been here and probably 2 of the more popular guys in Binghamton from the Black Bears. Yeah, absolutely. It was great to see Boilard rewarded, because obviously he doesn't make many offensive contributions. He's a stay-at-home guy. He's content to do that, and he does it very well. And so, he lets his game speak for itself. I was just so happy to see, he's able to have his name on the score sheet. That was awesome. And Yates, it's funny. I think Yates played all right, but it wasn't his best game. Sure. But yet it was enough. And that really is a testament as to his quality of play, in that, he had an all right game, and it was still, he was still a major part of, getting a win. Now, the Gavin Yates power play goal at 7:34 in the third period, it was the first goal scored in the third period. That really changed the game a little bit, if you think about it, right? Because it was tied 2-2 up until the 7:34 mark of the third period. Gavin gets the power play goal, and I think for both teams, you have to rethink how you play the last 13 minutes of this game. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I actually have a different opinion in that. Sure. I don't know if you remembered, but when Oliveri scored that goal, and you remember I turned to you and said, there it is. And, that wasn't me saying, okay, they scored, we're on the board now. That was me saying to you, the tide has now turned. Sure. We're down 2-1 at that moment. Mm-hmm. And I felt like that was the definitive moment, or the pivotal moment in the game, in which momentum fully swung back to us. Yeah. So, because, up to that point, Carolina was playing a rock-solid game defensively, and it seemed like that one goal, that one little breakdown down low, broke them. Yeah. And it was at the end of the period, too, which, starts to, I've heard many coaches have said it to me, I do not want my team to give up a goal in the last 2 minutes of a period. Yep. And 18:01 mark, Ollie gets that goal, and you did. You looked at me and you said, the tide is starting to change, and which is very interesting. But then in the third period, we get the empty net goal from Austin Thompson. and whatnot. And why is it? It doesn't surprise me that it actually was Austin Thompson. Like it almost made sense that it ended up being Austin Thompson because he's had some goals this year throughout the season and in the playoffs where you're just like, oh, there he is, making the clutch, like the Derek Jeter type of goal. If Derek Jeter was going to play hockey, those are the kind of goals he would score.
Yep, I know. I'm sure probably even still Thompson's looking back at his whole season going, I could have played better. I could have done more. But it seemed like every single goal that he scored this entire year was in a key pivotal moment of the game. It was like
meaningful.
He was a spark plug.
Yeah.
and so that was just it was so perfect. It was kind of like okay. The game's taken care of now because Austin Thompson's on the board.
Yeah, and then, of course, at the 18-19 mark, Carolina keeping it close and doing everything. Gus Ford actually bangs it in, but they credit to Roman Kramer. I know that's a sticking point for you, has been for a very long time about this league, myself as well. Now, I don't know if they saw something that we didn't. Maybe there's something that they saw that we didn't, but, it looked like a Gus Ford goal to me as well when I looked back at it and whatnot, and that was on the power play. But what's more interesting, and we'll talk about the Binghamton Championship here in just a few seconds, but there was a hooking call on Connor Smith that sent him to the box, and then it led to, obviously, the power play goal for Carolina. But just before that, as the play developed and happened, Tyson Kirkby is sitting down on his butt and he's screaming at somebody, or he's not screaming, but he's talking vigorously to somebody. And from the video, you can't see, but I was downstairs already because as being called out by Gary in his video yesterday, if you watched his video, he said the media got up and ran downstairs after the Austin Thompson goal thinking that this game is over. And, well, little did they know, and you're right, little did we know that there would be a power play goal. But I was down there to witness this, and Tyson was literally yelling at Dave Jackson, the head of officiating for the Federal Prospects Hockey League, and he was basically saying to him, and I could not hear what Tyson was saying, but I could only imagine being around these players for so long and just knowing them. Like, really, with 2 minutes left to go in the game, you guys are calling that? Are you effing kidding me, right?
Yep.
And whatnot. Yep. It's so interesting, too, because there are so many times when they'll go through the whole game and they're barely calling anything. Like in the first period, there was no penalties. In the second period, there was about 5 penalties, and then there was only 2 penalties in the third, and 1 is in the last 2 minutes and everything. Yeah. I don't blame Tyson for being upset at that point.
Yeah, I agree, and I'm glad you told me about the fact that he was yelling at Jackson because I was still up atop of the arena. From my perspective, I thought he was young at Montalvo. So that was really interesting to find that out. But I made a comment. I did a live video at the end of the first period, and I made the observation that there's no penalties, and anything that could have been called was kind of ticky-tacky, and I'm okay with them not calling stuff. I was glad that they did, for the most part, let the players play, but it is interesting because both of those key penalties called in the third period resulted in the other team getting a power play opportunity and converting on it. So, it really, you can look at that and go, well, did the officials decide this? Or there's always going to be that argument from fans, But I still thought it was, I could live with the call when it happened. I know Tyson was upset, but I thought, well, yeah, okay.
So obviously the game ends with it's a 4-3 game, third straight game where it was so close, and it was a 5-3, 4-3, 4-3 series. So Carolina still put up 9 points, I think, or 9 goals. Ford had the majority of those for them. So obviously still close. Binghamton gets the win. They celebrate on the ice, and the fans. I mean, Gary, I don't think anybody left for 15 minutes afterwards. The fans.
No. I got shooed out by one of the arena security, very nicely, I might add. They were very kind, very polite, and almost apologetic because I'm sorry, but you really need to go. But yeah, it was just such an awesome experience to just soak it all in and just listen to everyone just going nuts and celebrating. It was beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, very excited. Everybody, all the Black Aces came out in their jerseys and on skates, and they were very happy. And
Sam.
and Sam Levici was there. You know, and if you think about it, deservingly so, because he was only released from the team because, honestly, he just had to make room for one more of the skaters. You had to have it. You had to bring it. I mean, coach knew it and everything, but you know, he came out onto the ice and celebrated with the guys because, as a lot of people have said, Andrea said it best at the press conference. This is family. This whole community has become a family. The Black Bears fans, the players, the staff, everybody's become a family, and Sam was a part of that. He was the listen. I want you. I have a project for you, and you have enough projects. You've already done so much for the Fed, but I'm really curious about this. How many teams this season, and maybe even in the past 4 or 5 seasons, where they only used 3 goaltenders all season long?
Yeah, well,
that doesn't happen that often.
There was one other team, and it really didn't go on the books. There was in Watertown. There was a young man, and I'm hoping that he gets the opportunity to play next year. His name is Jack Hudick. Yeah. He was a practice goalie with them all year. He was never officially on the roster, but he was with the
But what I'm saying is when you look at the goalies that played in a game for each team, only Binghamton, I think, played with either Nolan Egbert, Connor McAnanama, or Sam Levici. I think other teams had other people come in and play a game or two sometimes. And
true. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. To me, that's the impressive thing. Was that the Black Bears only had 3 goaltenders all season long. They didn't bring in anybody. Ian Wallace didn't show up for a game just to be cool and come into Binghamton for a game.
Yeah.
You know, there was no other goaltenders that played for Binghamton, not even as a backup.
Yeah, actually, the only other team I can think of that stuck with their core goaltenders, and that was it, was Motor City. They had Babin, and when he was suspended, they brought in Scott Blake, but he never dressed for he never played in the game. So it was him and Ricardo Gonzalez all year, and those were the only 2. But they would be the only other team that just stuck with their core guys.
I'm looking this up now. Because to me,
Scott Blake had 3 quote unquote appearances, but he was the backup and he never touched the ice.
All right, so let's see here. Let's go to Motor City's numbers, right? And because I'll accept that answer if that's the answer. Let's see here. Scott Blake, 4 GPs, no
4 games.
Yep,
okay.
Yep, and then Nick Kaiser. So Motor City probably, when it comes down to it, led the league.
Kaiser was an E-bug for the one game.
Yep. So that means Trevor Babin and Ricardo Gonzalez and the Motor City Rockers are the only team to only play 2 goalies all season long, which is, to me, that's outstanding. It's outstanding because the problem that I had with this league when I was researching it before Binghamton even started, playing their first game was like, oh my God, look, that team had 7 goalies on their team, and because to me, one of the things that I think has hurt this league in some cases is that there's not enough consistency with the D-men and with goalies, right? And when you only play 58 or 56 games, you really have to give a guy 40 games like Brian Wilson did, to get them in a groove, right? Goalies are groove type of positions. And
exactly.
You can't play a guy once and then not play him again for 3 weeks and expect him to play well. Okay.
Yeah.
So that was my point on that. So very, very interesting. But Sam was out there and everything. First of all, 2011 Calder Cup Championship happened in Houston, Texas. Your thoughts and feelings about it happening on home ice last Friday?
Oh man, I had an expectation just going in. When Game 2 was completed on Saturday evening last weekend, the very first thing I did was go online and get my ticket because it was like, I'm not going to get it if I don't get it now.
Yeah.
So I knew the atmosphere was going to be just absolutely electric. And, I could even feel it just waiting in line before the doors even opened. I mean, it felt like a college atmosphere with, people dressed up in costumes, and they've got their beads and their rubber chickens and their props. And,
Tell everyone what you had.
It was incredible. Yeah, I had one of the rubber chickens.
Yes, you did.
You can blame Dan Phillips for that.
That's awesome. It's awesome.
The atmosphere was just so electric, and I tell you, when that final horn sounded, I just ended up just standing back and just silently soaking it all in. Yeah, I shed a couple of tears, I'll admit it. But the atmosphere, I will never forget that in my life.
Oh.
That is just something that is just permanently etched in my brain now, because just you could feel it, you could see it, you could hear it, you could smell it. I mean, it was just so permeating. It was incredible.
What does this championship mean for the Federal Prospects Hockey League that Binghamton now is one of the teams that has won this championship? What does that mean realistically? And maybe you haven't thought about this yet, right? But you now have Binghamton, New York, one of the, I think, most important cities in minor league hockey in the last 50-some years, right? You can put names up there like Rochester and Hershey, Pennsylvania, and maybe Johnstown because of the slapshot era, which is why I would include Binghamton into that with the Broom Dusters and everything. But what does this mean for the Federal Prospects Hockey League, single-A hockey, that Binghamton is now a champion within that league?
I actually, as you were kind of asking that, something just popped in my brain. A lot of people forget that Binghamton was one of the 6 original cities of the FPHL.
Sure, absolutely.
It was just known then the FHL.
Yes.
So obviously the league always looked at Binghamton, New York as a very important market. And, I mean, so much so that they were willing to try and, put in a team competing against an AHL team, an established AHL team. Unfortunately, it didn't work. But Binghamton's always been on the league's radar. And, obviously, the minute the news came out that the Devils were gone, Andreas and the league jumped on it because they saw something that this market and this fan base was so vital to the overall image of the league. And I think it's big. I really do.
It's an important part, What I find also interesting is the Syracuse Crunch are still in the Calder Cup playoffs, and the Adirondack Thunder are also in the ECHL playoffs. I would find it amazing if the Rangers won the Stanley Cup, the Adirondack Thunder won the ECHL's Kelly Cup, and then the Calder Cup went to Syracuse, and then Binghamton had the FPHL Cup. I mean, come on. Right there, four out of the Big Five.
Can you imagine what the impact that would have on youth hockey in New York State?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
It'd be huge. It would be great. And the best part is I would want Andreas and Howard Dolgan to get together and get everybody get those 4 championships together. Now, of course, I am saying something that's so not going to happen, right? Because there's too much that has to play in there, but there is a chance that 4 of the 5 pro championships could be won by a New York team this year. That, to me, would be outstanding. And Adirondack is playing well. They've had to, win some games in overtime and everything. And Syracuse just knocked off the Rochester Americans to move on to the next round, the North Division Finals. So it's very interesting what's going on in New York State hockey. And let me tell you right now, people may talk about hockey in Massachusetts. Prep school hockey is one of the most biggest things in Massachusetts. People talk about Minnesota and Michigan for hockey, but people forget New York State is a breeding ground for great hockey. Youth hockey is getting so much better here in New York State, and the players that come over from Ontario, Canada to play in college hockey here in New York, like in SUNY Morrisville and all these small SUNY schools that are getting kids from Ontario to come in and play here is only improving hockey here in New York State. And I'm telling you right now, it's going to be amazing if 1 or 2 other New York teams wins the championship this year. It's good for it's good for the state.
Absolutely. New York's always been overlooked by, like you said, the Boston area and Minnesota. But you look at how many players that are in the NHL that came out of New York State, especially along the Erie Canal towns.
Sure.
It's always been big, but
it's getting bigger.
I think some championships would definitely add to that power and that ability to get better talent going through the pipeline.
Well, I don't think you have a more consistent pipeline of semi-pro hockey than with Rochester, Binghamton, Syracuse now. Utica has been off and on having the AHL there and other forms, other levels and everything. Yeah. But without a doubt.
You got to go old school. You got to think about the Clinton Comets.
Yeah,
the Comets there.
They were in the old North American Hockey League. Yeah. So it's very interesting. Okay, so obviously there's going to be a celebration on Monday for the team. They've sided away from doing a parade. Probably half part of that is because the weather has sucked in the Northeast here for a while and everything. But then realistically, where the payoff really happens for Binghamton hockey fans, obviously, you'll probably buy some championship gear at, Black Bears shop, blah, 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 all that stuff and everything, right? But really what it comes down to is game 1, whoever it's against. I hope it's against Danbury just to kind of like to smirk at Billy McCurry a little bit. But, hey, buddy, guess what? We got one of those now. It's the little brother to the Calder Cup Championship, but still, it's nice. But the banner raising game 1 in Binghamton, that's the cool thing.
Yeah, definitely. And I can't imagine that we're not going to have a sellout for that first game.
Yes.
Everybody's going to be pumped.
Well, in 2012, the first game when they raised the banner for the Calder Cup Championship, that was a sellout and everything. So I would expect the same thing. Gary, I expect you to be there without a doubt for that and everything, because that's very, very important. Any last thoughts that you have? Because I want to pump your show here in just a few seconds, but any last thoughts about the championship for Binghamton?
My thoughts are a little personal in that the reason why this championship felt so good to me personally is I've become very close to a lot of the fans and a lot of the people in the community. And, I felt very, very connected to the players. They're out there taking their laps with a cup. And even though I wasn't, I felt like I was out there because it's just become such a relational thing. Like you were talking earlier about with the team, it's family. It's all about family and relationships. And I felt that in such a real way. And that was the most precious thing to me being there Friday night. It was indescribable.
The league probably is not going to do the meetings for a couple weeks because obviously there's some important stuff to take care of. You and I will not talk about what those things are. Obviously, there's some expansion team stuff that is, down the pipe, and nobody knows really who, what, when, and where at the moment definitively, so we're not going to talk about that part. But the most important part that you're going to be talking about on Friday on your broadcast on Friday, which I think is important, and I was hoping that you could explain it to the fans a little bit, because if I explain it, I'll either get really upset and curse, or I just won't say it right. But is the protected list and the potential for the expansion teams to be able to draw from, and we know Athens is one of those right now. Can you break that down for us? Because I know that there's going to be even more information this Friday on the Fed League Flash, so make sure you check that out on Facebook Live, I believe is your Friday broadcast, right? Mm-hmm. All right, excellent. See, wow, I got this down. I feel like I'm a pro at this now. So can you walk the fans through for me how what the numbers are and whatnot for the expansion draft and what people could expect?
Yeah. And I apologize in advance for sounding somewhat clinical with this response, but because obviously this affects all the teams, not just Binghamton. So the league has decided, they looked back at this last year and they saw, wow, every team was competitive this year, and that's great.
Yes.
Every team, had a shot at the playoffs until right at the very end. We want more of that. So what they have done is they have decided for this upcoming year to try and balance the scales even farther. So each team, obviously, our roster, Binghamton's roster is 24 overall because we have the college and juniors kids come in. But the regular roster is 19 for everyone, so 19 to 24. But anyway, the 8 playoff teams can protect 12 players, and no, that's not a lot. So 12 players will be protected. They are the property of their team. The other 7 to 12 will be available to be selected in the expansion draft we know Athens is definitely there. We think that there is definitely going to be one other team. There may be 3 more teams. So that would be 4 expansion teams picking. Plus Blue Ridge and Baton Rouge get to protect all of their players. So it's just the 8 playoff teams that are getting selected from. So there's going to be a lot of turnover next year for Binghamton, for Carolina, for Columbus, for everybody who's in the playoffs.
Right.
So yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting. So those teams what did I say? The 7 to 12 players per team can get drafted by the expansion teams, and again, it all depends on how many teams we have. That's going to be determined hopefully within the next
couple weeks,
2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So it's going to be very interesting next year. So yeah, Binghamton's going to look a lot different next year.
Yeah.
But don't forget, Binghamton looked a lot different on the opening day this year too.
Yeah.
We had a lot of rookies in camp, and we were all going, who are these guys? Who's this McAnanima guy? Who's this Tommy Ray guy? Who are these people? And we ended up being very pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, and the fans were screaming. The fans were screaming, "We want Kyle Powell back!" and everything. And I love Kyle. Don't get me wrong, and everything. But it worked out. It really did. It really did work out and everything. And I think to the benefit for the league. Listen, the Empire Division was not an easy division to play in. It was not an easy division to win. All 5 teams played well. I'm saying this right now. Elmira still played well. Watertown still played well. Danbury finally got knocked off of their high horse a little bit, but they came on in the last 2 months of the season and played very well. Motor City played great. There is a reason. Listen, Gordy Brown or Brant Sherwood was going to be Coach of the Year. It was going to be one of those two. What Gordy Brown did there is a lot different than what Brant Sherwood did here. Brant Sherwood should have been recognized for his recruiting, his bringing in rookies and playing them. Gordy Brown got awarded for the style of play that they played in Motor City, which was very successful and helped them. And they had guys that couldn't travel. So they would drop them and then bring in guys here in New York State when they came to New York State, like Eric Organizazoff. I can never pronounce his name. I'm sorry, Eric. I should just call you Eric O and just leave it at that. But I'm not wrong. There are two different reasons why both of those guys should have been Coach of the Year, and Gordy got it. That's how good this division was this year.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you know, I even look at Blue Ridge. You know, Blue Ridge ended up being the bottom team in the league, but they had they were
almost 20 wins.
Blown out. They were blown out 3 times in every other game that they played. All the other 53 games, they were in it until the end.
Yeah.
So it was great to see them with a competitive team.
Yeah.
Baton Rouge ended up having a very competitive team once they kind of figured things out towards the end of the year.
I think Mississippi had a really tough season, right? Because they were good at points and they were really bad at points. Let's be honest. They probably, I think, had the hardest season of any of the teams in the league in the sense that they had moments when they were really good, but they were really stinkers at times.
Yeah, and you know, there's reasons for that I really don't want to go into.
I know that, which is fine.
But yeah, I mean, okay, even they, I mean, they went through a long drought, and yet they still had a chance to, you know, get in the playoffs and play for the Cup. You know, I mean, the parity in the league this last year, the competitiveness. Was so fantastic. And you know what? I think that makes what Binghamton did this year even more special because if you want to look at it this way, we had more opportunities to lose every night, and yet we ended up winning atop of the division and winning the Cup. You know, that I think that's a testament as to what Brant and Andreas and the team did.
I'll give you this stat: 20 come from behind victories from game 1 to the final game in the playoffs. 20 come from behind. That says it all. It was a very tough season to win a championship this year in the Federal Prospects Hockey League, and Brant's team led them there. Gary, thank you very much. Tuesday, I think you said you have a video on Tuesday, one on Friday, or Thursday and Friday?
Yep, Facebook Live, and I'm going to be doing this throughout the entire off season. Facebook Live on Tuesdays and Fridays, and then I will have YouTube videos on the weekends. One will look back, and one will look forward.
Okay, awesome. Perfect. He is Gary Ryan of the Fed League Flash, and now he's got to take his wife out for a Mother's Day breakfast or lunch, wherever. Where are you taking her?
Well, actually, we went out for dinner last night, but I am taking her to a local florist so she can go nuts with her garden because she loves the garden.
Nice. Well, that's pretty awesome to do. And for all the mothers out there, happy Mother's Day from Gary and I, of course, and everything. We wouldn't be the people we were if it wasn't for the mothers in the world. It's that simple. Indeed. He is Gary Ryan. I'm Bob Howard, and we'll be right back right after this, right here on the Power Play Post Show.
If you're a Binghamton hockey fan, then you need to check out binghamtonhockey.net for all your news, stats, information, the Binghamton Hockey Hall of Fame, top 10 lists, profiles, and so much more. That's binghamtonhockey.net. You're listening to the Power Play Post Show.
And welcome back, everybody, to the Power Play Post Show. That is the show. Congratulations once again to the Binghamton Black Bears for winning the Commissioner's Cup playoffs. Thank you to all the players that have been on this show this year. I enjoyed telling your story and talking about this team as much as I could. And we still got more coming. We got a Thursday show coming up with Brant Sherwood will be on to give his final thoughts of this season and winning a championship, and maybe even a couple comments from some players from tomorrow night's celebration for the Binghamton Black Bears. So I want to thank everybody again for listening all season long and paying attention in the Facebook group. Thank you, and thank you for commenting and doing the first goal scorers. That's so very awesome that you guys have gotten on board and done that as well. Okay, so the Power Play Post Show is on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Just search Power Play Post Show on whichever platform you listen to your podcast and subscribe. Please join the Power Play Post Show Facebook group. Just go to Facebook, search Power Play Post Show, and share with any of your friends as well. And check out BinghamtonHockey.net for all your Binghamton hockey information and curiosity. Thank you to Rob Lepolis, our MC, John Patitucci, our musical director, and from the Binghamton Black Bears broadcaster, Brooks Hill, and of course, Gary Ryan, our friend from the Fed League Flash. Thank you very much for listening, everybody. I am Bob Howard. Again, thank you so much, and we'll talk to you next time right here on the Power Play Post Show.
Thanks for listening to this edition of the Power Play Post Show. Be sure to tune in next week to the Box Studios Radio Network for all the latest Black Bears news and interviews from around minor league hockey. The Power Play Post Show would like to thank John Patitucci for all the music you hear on the show. You've been listening to the Power Play Post Show.